You know, I really wish I had some like confetti or something to throw up in the air, because this video is absolutely going to be a celebration about the fact that the Marvel's Avengers game is already basically dead. What's up gamers, Dreamcastguy here, and you're probably about to be offended by this video if you're a huge fan of the Avengers game. Mostly because I'm actually very happy that this game has managed to be such a bomb. Mostly because I am so sick of live service projects. The fact that there are just so many big budget games now that they try and release, purposefully incomplete, missing content, missing heroes, missing storylines to try and sell it as DLC later, or sometimes just as a way to try and keep those updates rolling out. This game has been a very shocking failure though, mostly because I think a lot of us kind of assumed that this game had a lot of potential to it. It is, after all, an officially licensed Marvel's Avengers project. The fact that they could have like Captain America and Thor and Black Widow and everybody coming together for a bunch of action, it seems like this would be a very easy hit. And the fact that this only came out like 45 days ago. I mean, I just finished my review what feels like last week, and already the game is having some really abysmal player numbers. Now, this isn't speculation. This is by some well-tracked data. Let's look at some data points right here. So this is Forbes.com. This is Paul Tassi. Now, just to be clear before we even get into this, I disagree with a lot of what Paul Tassi says, but his point of view here is incredibly useful because Paul Tassi has been playing the Avengers game pretty much non-stop. This guy has hundreds and hundreds of hours racked up in that dumpster fire of a game, so when he says the game is dead, it's absolutely dead. Avengers dips below 1,000 players on PC, causing matchmaking problems. Ooh, you love to see it. Avengers is currently in limbo, with Crystal Dynamics seemingly pushing back on its roadmap of objectives while simultaneously trying to fix what currently ails the game: loot, loot, and more loot. Since players don't know when fixes are coming, interest in the game appears to be tapering off at an increased pace, and that's starting to come with a few noticeable issues for players that remain. Now, before we even go past that, this is a key thing that actually kills a lot of these games as a service projects, is that they don't stay fun long term. They have that initial burst of interest as you kind of learn the controls and master the characters and first getting that cool gear and stuff, but very quickly that falls off a cliff. And Paul is making a good point here, which is that this is exactly what happened with Anthem. Like literally this opening paragraph here, he wrote in his Anthem article, word for freaking word. And I think we all learned something very valuable with Anthem, which is that you can have a bad game, you can have a good game, but if you want to have a successful game, it needs to come out of the gate packed with content. If you try and drip feed stuff, people are going to die of thirst before they even get to the freaking Oasis is your next giant update. Now let's keep reading here. Avengers is now starting to dip below 1,000 players on Steam, causing similar issues to what we saw with Anthem back in the day, in that it's becoming hard for players to find each other for match-made activities in a game that is fundamentally all match-made activities. Now let me just be clear about something right quick. This basically means the game is dead. You can try and defend it. I'm sure there's going to be somebody in the comments section who is extremely mad that I'm calling a game dead, even though, you know, they haven't even come out with the next hero. Spider-Man's not even released. The game's not dead yet, Dreamcastguy. Here's the thing. If you create an online game, the only way that keeps it sustained, the only way that keeps that universe existing is players logging in. Look, I had a very bad addiction to World of Warcraft at times. I've played so many thousands of hours of that game. And you know what got me to quit? When other people started quitting. As much as I wanted to try and enjoy that universe and do some dungeons and play the player versus player combat for hundreds of hours a week, I quit when I realized that the fun was drying up. The community is what is essentially the most addictive aspect of these games, and if everybody starts quitting, well, your game is going to vanish. Now, I want to take a second here to actually look at the stat chart here, because this is interesting to see how fast it's gone off. The peak has been 2,000 for 24 hours, and now right here, its all-time peak is 30,000. It's showing that this game is already reducing itself down to about 3% of its height. 3% of its height in very, very quickly. It's just bizarre to see how much this goes up and down as we go into like weekends and stuff, and it just steadily has been dropping off like a freaking rock. On PC especially, where the player base is low, this problem gets more pronounced when you have something like 50 different war table missions available on a given day, so finding a team is increasingly difficult. It does not help that the game mandates that all 4 players be a different hero, extending matchmaking even further. On PC, some players are reporting to sit around 30 minutes or so waiting for matches. This is a real quote from real people really playing the game. Some players are reporting sitting around for 30 minutes waiting for a match. Let me just sit back for a second. Let's all just take a deep breath. Let's just really kind of actually absorb that data. 30 minutes for every single match. If you are just trying to do your daily quests, if you're just trying to play the game, this is dead. It is as dead can be. And the reason I'm celebrating this, and the reason I am actually happy, I'm just being straight up here, I am biased against live service games. I feel like live service games have become very, very perpetual. My problem with these isn't just the fact that so often they launch incomplete, not just because I feel like they are essentially very bad products, it's that so many live service games now, they're not about being good. They don't want to try and entertain you. They don't want to try and be the next big thing. Their only interest is getting you addicted enough to stay in the cycle. Are you still logging in? Are you still playing the hours? That's all that matters. So they stop trying to even make games fun or interesting or great, and they just try and make them good enough. They try and scrape by with literally the bare minimum of content. And to me, that sucks. Now, I'm going to say that there have been some good live service games. There's definitely some good MMOs and stuff. So many of y'all have been very pleasantly spamming me to talk about Genshin Impact. And I haven't talked about Genshin Impact yet, but everybody tells me, hey, Dreamcastguy, this is a free game. It's got a gacha system with like randomized loot, but it's very, very fun. It's very, very rewarding, and you don't really need to send a penny on it. Games like this are completely dominating because they respect the player base. Another example of this is Phantasy Star Online 2. I played a lot of Phantasy Star Online 2, and I was kind of blown away by how fun this game was, how expansive the loot tables were, and again, that is a completely free game. If you're going to try and do live service now, in 2020, it's difficult to ask for $60 up front, especially with a game like this that had 6 heroes. When I reviewed the Avengers game, there were some people that were a little bit offended, or I guess I should say they were taken aback that I predicted a month and a half ago when this game came out, I straight up in my video said this game is going to die before Spider-Man comes out. I said the words, this game will die before Spider-Man comes out in 2021. And you know how I knew that? I'm not psychic. I don't have like a crystal ball. It is just the fact that I realized that this is too little content for too much expectation. Nobody can keep repeating the same missions, keep going through the same dungeons again and again, hoping to get a couple loots and be sustained for months at a time. The community has collapsed. The game is imploding. And at this point, it is a good thing. This is now going to be the ultimate lesson that you need to up your game. If you're trying to make a live service project, it needs to be decent. I'm sorry this is turning into a rant. I didn't mean for it to, but my whole thing is I'm getting so sick of lazy games. I'm getting so freaking annoyed because we're in an age now where there are so many spectacular giant experiences that do cost money. If you want to have an upfront cost, you have to compete with stuff like Final Fantasy XIV, which is huge and has one of the most friendly player bases on the planet. You have to compete with stuff like that. If you are going to come out and your game is Marvel's Avengers and all you do is spam triangle and super attacks and go, hey look, I'm Goofy Thor, that is not going to work. but these have just been my thoughts. I wanted to talk about this because it is honestly very funny to me that this managed to flop so hard. What are your thoughts on it? Are you still trying to play the game? Are you still interested in it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, but do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Wait, I actually think I have a super special collector's edition. Let me see if it's still in the hallway. Look at the size of this collector's edition. What is the point of this box? What am I going to become an Avenger if I open this? Oh look, dead game. Look at it. There's as much content inside this box as there is in the game. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.